So imagine my surprise. I wake up this morning, I check the Twitter on my phone, and I find out that one of the Usos, more importantly the returning Jimmy Uso, was arrested for his fourth DUI in Pensacola, Florida. And when they did the breathalyzer test, it was 0.25, basically pretty high. And a lot of people have been talking about this. I'm in the process right now of listening. And that was just my dog. She's waking up right now. She's got allergies. But like I said, I'm in the process of listening to what Alex is talking about, his take on it. I heard a little bit of what OTRS Central had to say, and honestly, everybody's right about this. Jimmy Uso, the guy needs help. We'll put it that way. The guy needs big time help, and and here's the thing. This, if you're a wrestling fan, long term, you've only been a fan for a decade, maybe a couple of years, and you listen to all this news going on. This is one of the last things you want to hear, because right now in wrestling, as fans, if you will, a lot of us are hearing about these situations with some legend, not with our favorites, but with some legendary wrestlers right now. I mean, Del Wilkes, the original Patriot, just passed away of a heart attack, which was a big shocker. Yeah, he got away from the wrestling business in the late 90s, early 2000s because of health reasons. But eventually that all caught up to him. The surgeries, the drugs, the pills and all that finally caught up to him. And then you see what happens. Then you see what's happening with Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff, and the condition he's in. You hear about what's going on with Terry Funk, and the fact that he's in a home now because he has dementia. And it's hard to read about all these things happening in wrestling right now. And then you add this to the list of things going on that shouldn't be happening. And you think, hearing this himself, or knowing about this himself, hearing these things, Jimmy Uso would learn that, I can't be doing this. But he's not learning. And what he's doing by doing this is he's basically blowing the biggest shot he has right now. And that big shot is currently in a main event status alongside his brother Jay, alongside his cousin Roman Reigns, who is the current Universal Champion, the tribal chief head of the table on SmackDown. You'd think he would realize that, hey, I'm in the biggest opportunity of my life. I can't afford to screw this up, but yet here we are, he's screwing it up. And if I'm WWE, I don't know what I do. Apparently reports are they're going to make a decision soon. And whatever that decision is, I know it's not going to be probably the best decision. They may not release him. If they do, that would be a surprise, but I don't think they will. Because I don't think they want to upset Roman Reigns, especially with the fact that he has his family involved in the storyline, that he's part of. But I think even Roman would be like, you know what, dude, enough's enough. Your family, but this is on you. You gotta help yourself. So the only thing I can think they could probably do is, if they do release him or suspend him until he gets help, send him to rehab, is use what Edge did to him on SmackDown as a storyline reasoning for him being written off, for him going into rehab, for him being suspended, going into rehab, getting help. They could. That's the only thing I can think they can do is to use what Edge did to him at the end of SmackDown as a way to write him off. And once he's pretty much cleaned up his act, gotten the help he needs, then you bring him back, and if you're still doing the storyline, you use him to basically, betray Roman. If they're planning for Roman and The Rock next year, then you get him and you get Jay. If he's cleaned up enough, finally you get him and Jay to turn on Roman, and there you go. You finally, you bring the whole Tribal Chief storyline to a close, and in the process, you're basically, allowing somebody that 4 times in a row has screwed up. Hopefully now, has cleaned his act up, and you're allowing him to have a happy ending. Not just with, hey, he's back at work, he's celebrating on the grandest stage of all, he's cleaned up and everything, he's finally learned his lesson, but you're also giving him a happy ending in story as basically, hey, we finally put an end to this Roman Empire, this Tribal Chief deal, and now maybe from a storyline perspective, Roman can redeem himself and be the big dog that he used to be. But that's up to him. That's up to him and whatever WWE does. If they release him, be honest with you, for a lot of you guys thinking, oh, well, then he'll just go to AEW or he'll go to Japan and, join up with his cousins there and stuff like that. No, not Roman, Jimmy's not going to do any of that. Because AEW is not going to want to touch him. Impact's not going to want to touch him. New Japan definitely ain't going to want to touch him. Nobody's going to want to touch him until he cleans himself up. That is why, when you think about it, Jake the Snake, after his run in the 90s with WWE, when he was let go because of his problems, they didn't want nothing to do with him till he cleaned himself up. And when he did, they brought him back. For appearances for the Hall of Fame, they brought him back because he was a true redemption story. And Jimmy Uso is pretty much the same way. WWE, if they don't let him go, they're just going to send him to rehab, like I said, and use what Edge did to him on SmackDown as a way to write him off. And, after that, hopefully once he finally does clean himself up, like I said, bring him back, and maybe we get a double happy ending. A happy ending for him from a personal perspective that he's back now, he's cleaned up, he's fought his demons. And also in storyline, a happy ending of, hey, we got rid of the Roman Empire, the Tribal Chief deal. But again, it's up to whatever WWE does. A lot of people are saying they're not going to, release him because of his ties to Roman and how much of an important factor he is right now in the storyline, and that is indeed true. But we'll see. If they have to temporarily release him, like, hey, we're going to release you, but, when we're going to bring you back once you are, we'll re-sign you and bring you back once you're cleaned up, then that's fine too. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, one thing a lot of people say is like, once or twice, that's fine. Maybe 3rd time's, okay. A 3rd time is kind of like a sign that maybe you do need to get help. But 4 times, yeah, that's crossing the line. And I think WWE does need to take charge of this. They need to do something. And if they don't release him, then write him off, suspend him, send him to rehab, do something, get him help. Is what I would do if I was WWE. It's because it's like my mom says, you don't need alcohol, to have a good time. I mean, every time we get together as a family, and my niece drinks, or her fiance drinks, or even my second older sister's brother-in-law drinks at times, or even if we're in Modesto or out of town and my older sister drinks, or her husband drinks a little bit, my mom's always concerned, like, are they okay? Are they fine? And they have to say, like, yeah, we're good. We know what to do. We can control our consumption. And usually they have something to eat or balance it out with water, to help themselves out. So, it's just one. So yeah, my mom has a good point that, why do you need to consume alcohol to have a good time? You don't need to drink that much. And for someone like Jimmy, that's a good question towards him. Why does he have to consume the alcohol so much? Why can't he just like have one or two drinks, then maybe take a bottle of water or get a bottle of, G Fuel or whatever, and drink that, and he'll be fine. What's the problem? What's going on here? And I know some people are saying, well, maybe he wants to be released. Maybe he wants to go and do his own thing. And maybe that's true, but hopefully it's not. I think honestly the guy does have a problem, and WWE has to do something about it. And they can't. And if I'm WWE, I basically look at the fact that, look, I know he's Roman Reigns' cousin, but we got to do what's best for the company and what's best for him, especially if they want to keep their image clean and everything in front of, since they are now a publicly traded company. So, yeah, all we can do is just pray and give it to God, and hopefully Jimmy will get the help he needs. Maybe Naomi needs to take some time off, after Money in the Bank, and help her husband out. But we'll see. I mean, the worst thing WWE can do is just come out with a statement and say, yeah, we're not, because they've done this before, and if they do this again, it shows that obviously, they don't want to risk angering someone like Roman or something like that. And basically what I'm saying is the worst thing they can do is say, yeah, Jimmy Uso's responsible for his own actions and like they've done before, and that in this case they can't do that. They can't just come out and say Jimmy Uso's responsible for his own actions and WWE has nothing to do with it. No, he's currently in a big storyline right now. They need to do something. I mean, if they're willing to strip Rob Van Dam of his championships back in 2006 after being busted for marijuana and all this other stuff, and suspend him for 30 days, then they shouldn't, hold Jimmy Uso on a higher pedestal just because of his relation to Roman. They should basically say, look, we're going to suspend you indefinitely, we're going to send you to rehab, and then when you're good and ready to come back, cleaned up and everything, we'll bring you back. That's all they can do. That's all they can do. But yeah, this is the last thing that a lot of wrestling fans, longtime fans, or longtime fans or newer fans, this is the last thing they need to hear this week. Like I said, with the passing of Dale Wilkes, the Patriot, the news about Terry Funk being in a home with dementia, and then of course seeing what's going on with Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Yeah, this is the last thing we needed. It's the last thing we needed. But let me know what your thoughts are. How do you feel about Jimmy Uso and his situation right now? Comment down below, and I will talk to y'all later.